a very distinguished senior brother, Honorable Justice B.N. Srikrishna, former judge of the Supreme Court and chairman of the advisory board of Kaivalyadhama, Brother Justice Abhay, my colleague in the Supreme Court, Justice D.K. Upadhyay, Chief Justice of the Bombay High Court, who has been a very valued colleague of mine when I served at the Allahabad High Court for nearly 3 years. Former judges of the Bombay High Court, Dr. O.P. Tiwari ji, Chairman of Kaivalyadhama. Tiwari ji was with us also in the morning. Shri Subodh Tiwari, Secretary and CEO. Shri Shashank Manohar, Managing Trustee of the Justice M.L. Pendse Foundation. Mr. Nishant Jain, Project Director. Shri Nitin by Thakker, President of Bombay Bar Association. Namaste Pranam and very good afternoon to all of you. It's my distinct honor to inaugurate the Justice M.L. Pendse Center for Cancer Survivors and Lifestyle Conditions and this symposium on conflict resolution, both internal and external, organized in collaboration with the Bombay Bar Association. On a personal, and if I may say so, a more vulnerable note, I am grateful to the organizers for inviting me to this tranquil and spectacular campus. As I traveled from Delhi to Pune yesterday, first to Mumbai and then to Pune, I felt restless. My mind was cluttered with thoughts about judicial work which I had completed, judicial work which I had not been able to complete, judicial work which is lined up when I go back tomorrow, public engagements, administrative responsibilities. But as I walked through this beautiful campus, amid the scenic landscape of the Sahyadris, the pristine flora and the sounds of the birds chirping, I could feel my mind slowly come to ease. In this bustling world where stress and chaos often dominate our lives, institutions like Kaivalyadhama stand as an oasis, a sanctuary for peace, wellness, and for self-discovery. We are all truly indebted to Kaivalyadhama for its unique fusion of yoga and advanced science to create synergies across health, education, and research. I think part of the problems that we as a civilization have faced is because so much of our tradition is oral. Much of our tradition is not documented. But in the environment which is created after the Industrial Revolution of documenting research, of documenting ideas, we somehow lag behind. Though our society, our civilization is so evolved, whether it's in terms of our knowledge of Ayurveda, our knowledge of yoga, but this was something which was passed on from generation to generation. I think the yoga movement, and Kaivalyadhama is really an intrinsic part of that movement, is to liberate to that extent our tradition from its purely oral foundations by contributing to documenting knowledge. And the reason to document knowledge is that knowledge never reduces by sharing it with each other. Knowledge only enhances by its being shared across societies. In that sense, our conception of knowledge is very distinct from modern concepts of intellectual property, where you seek to monopolize knowledge. You monopolize knowledge and monetize knowledge by the monopoly which the law yields over your property. But to us in our civilization, knowledge in that sense is neither a monopoly nor a property. It's a shared resource which we have received from those who came before us, a shared resource which we hold in trust, and a shared resource which we will pass on for future generations. Yet at the same time, there cannot be any gainsaying the fact that we live in a modern age. an age of science, an age of technology. And the importance of science and technology is the incremental growth that takes place. So as we are all very conscious of the fact, all of us, iPhone or technology buffs, you're always conscious about, version 2.0. We do that in the e-courts project of the Supreme Court. It's the e-filing module 2.0, or it's the software model, the faster model 2.5, or whatever it is. So we are conscious of the fact that we need to document knowledge. And therefore, while we have to stand fast to our own tradition of what we have received over thousands of years, equally we cannot stand apart from what modern societies require, which is to document, to explain, to have hypotheses tested. And it is in that work, I believe, of pitchforking yoga in the context of the evolution of modern knowledge, that perhaps institutions like Kaivalyadhama and the entire yoga movement in India is in that sense transforming what is truly traditional or ancestral into something which is futuristic. It would be customary to say that I am honored to be a part of the inauguration of the Justice M.L. Pendse Center for Cancer Survivors in Lifestyle Conditions. But on this occasion, those words hold an even deeper truth for me. As a young member of the bar, I held Justice Pendse in the highest regard for his integrity, his legal expertise, and unwavering commitment to the legal profession. His exemplary ideals continue to serve as a guiding light as I navigate my role as a judge of a constitutional court. From that perspective, I must share with you, and Subodh spoke about intertwining yoga and mediation. Justice Pendse always practiced mediation in his court. His first effort when he heard a lawyer was to try and find out where did the resolution of the conflict lie without going to judgment. Of course, he had his very peculiarly Pendse way of dealing with mediation, which is that he suggested the solution and you dare not accept the solution. When I was a very young lawyer, I also suffered on occasion by having the temerity or the courage to say that I am not going to agree to the solution. But then later on I realized that the real art was not to let the judge know that you were trying to walk out of the solution, but the other side was trying to walk out of the solution. But on a more serious note, he really in that sense exemplified the need for balance in dispute resolution. Deeply he was conscious of the fact that dispute resolution in our society, in our system, is deeply adversarial. The winner takes it all, much like our elections. Because you don't allot votes in terms of the proportion of the vote which you have obtained. The highest person, the first past the post gets the electoral ballot. Now that is really a serious problem about our system. Because we do not factor in that there could be many solutions to legal conflicts which stop short of an eventual decision one way or the other in favor of one party. You can perhaps lead both parties to a happy situation rather than to leave one party happy and the other unhappy. And Justice Pendse in that sense was the forebearer of this tradition of mediation which has now gained ground as a scientific discipline in India, when he used to encourage parties to resolve their disputes. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to the Justice M.L. Pendse Foundation for wholeheartedly preserving and perpetuating Justice Pendse's remarkable legacy. Now we are all part, as I said, of the oral tradition, and I realize every morning that my generation is also now towards the outer edge of a legal career. But how do we then pass on the messages of the greats in our profession who came before us, whom the younger generation of our profession doesn't know? The establishment of this center, aptly titled Project Anand, stands as a noble tribute, reflecting Justice Pendse's enduring influence and dedication. This initiative not only honors his memory, but symbolizes hope, resilience, and a dedication to enhancing the lives of survivors as they navigate challenges post-treatment. Justice Pendse was a remarkably straightforward person, absolutely unafraid of power. He had this ability to speak truth to power, even if it was his own Chief Justice. In those days, we didn't have air conditioning in the Bombay High Court. Justice P.D. Desai was the presiding Chief Justice of the Bombay High Court, a very distinguished judge in his own right, somebody we admire and respect as much as we admire and respect Justice Pendse. He found Justice Pendse walking by his courtroom. Justice Pendse was sitting in the last court on the second floor, and he found Justice Pendse walking by his courtroom at 4:35 in the evening. Time for rising was 4:45. And he sent a little note to Justice Pendse asking him, why did you get up from court before time was up? How did you leave your court before 4:45? Now, Justice Pendse had finished his board, and not finished his board by adjourning all the matters, but by finishing his board by writing judgments in all the matters. And to which Justice Pendse replied, for some things, I'm not answerable to anyone, not including my Chief Justice. I'm answerable only to my own conscience. So it is in that tradition that we have really come to admire Justice Pendse. The legendary Japanese novelist, I'm sure a lot of you have read him, Haruki Murakami, wrote, when you come out of a storm, when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what the storm is all about. In many ways, the Justice M.L. Pendse Center, which we inaugurated this morning, will help survivors who have endured the storm of cancer and other chronic conditions integrate and rebuild their lives. I have closely cared for a family member who was battling cancer for over a decade and witnessed firsthand the challenges, the resilience, and the profound impact on both the patient and the family during such a challenging period. I know firsthand what it is to bring up little children when their mother is suffering from cancer. The center's commitment to comprehensive well-being, encompassing physical, emotional, and psychological aspects, aligns closely with my personal beliefs in the transformative power of approaches such as yoga, meditation, and mindfulness. I began the practice of yoga sometime in 1996 when I was referred to a teacher by the name of Anand. He is past 90 and lives in Pune. He used to teach me exercise. He used to teach me yoga. And every morning he would come and tell me one thing, which I still value. He said, I'm here to teach you exercise. I'm here to teach you the physical aspects of yoga, the techniques of yoga. What you will gain from this as a part of your own existence is for you to assimilate. I will not tell you what those experiences are. I will not tell you about what your path on evolution will be. I'm here, treat me only as a teacher of the physical and some of the other aspects related to yoga, but I want you to assimilate those experiences yourself. The person who referred Anand to me was quite a sturdy human being. He told Mr. Limay to stand on his feet and to hold his hands. And he lifted him 60 degrees in the air with him standing on his feet. And he turned to him and said, what yoga are you going to teach me? I'm a strong man. So he looked at him and only said, I can teach you how to control your breath and observe your breath. If we can achieve that in a few sessions, we would have achieved a lifetime of learning. Subodh had sent a teacher from Kaivalyadhama to me when I was a judge of the Bombay High Court. And every day, while teaching me different asanas, he would only say one thing. He had observed me for a few days and he would say only one thing to me, Lamba Saas. And he would say this Lamba Saas about 100 times during the course of that 45-minute session. And I used to wonder, why does he keep on saying Lamba Saas? What was the importance of, this? Later on, when, you're on your own, when you've left the teaching of yoga and then you're really left to make your own mistakes and learn from your mistakes, you realize how yoga is really in that sense all about opening up your sinews to allow the breath of life to enter your body and your mind. So whether you're doing Supta Vajrasana, whether you're doing Sarvangasana, whether you're doing Dhanurasana, or whether you've completed all that and you are doing Kapalbhati, whether you're doing Bhastrika, whether you're doing Anulom Vilom, the effort really is to assimilate your body into something which lies beyond the realm of the body. And I think that truly is something which we learn to assimilate in incremental stages over a period of a life. And I'm not sure whether you can achieve it in the course of one lifetime. So yoga transcends mere physical exercise. It is a way of life and a path to balance the body, mind and spirit. In fact, yogasanas do not merely indicate physical postures, but reflect seats. They reflect seats where we are comfortable. When you initially perform an asana for the first time, the sensation of discomfort or even pain might be quite prominent. This experience is akin to an internal struggle, where your mind urges you to escape the posture and return to a state of comfort, free from this conflict. So that your mind is constantly telling you, please get out of this posture and return to your comfort zone. You are trying to transcend that comfort zone and your mind is constantly telling you, get out of this comfort and get out of this posture and get back to your comfort zone. Free from this conflict of your mind with the physical aspects of the asana. However, the essence of yoga, and I dare say the essence of life itself, lies in embracing this discomfort or conflict, gradually finding ease within the posture and learning to reside in it without resistance or discord. It involves the art of becoming comfortable within the asana, ultimately reaching a state of repose and tranquility without a sense of inner conflict. That's why the true worth of yoga is in attempting to overcome this inner conflict of the mind by coming to terms with this physical conflict between the asana which you do and the pain which you may sometimes, or the discomfort which you may experience. Now, conflict is an unavoidable part of human interaction, arising from differences in opinions, values, and perspectives. While conflict is inevitable, how we manage and resolve it is crucial for maintaining harmony and progress in any setting, be it personal relationships, workplaces, or global affairs. In my view, the differentiation between the internal and the external conflicts is fundamentally flawed. There is really no distinction between the internal and the external. Both the internal merges with the external, and the external itself is a part of your internal being. External conflict cannot be neatly detached from internal strife, as they are interconnected and often interdependent, each influencing and feeding the other. In 1981, for instance, amid the tensions of the Cold War, as the world order was disrupted by conflict, the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution for the promotion of peace, which eloquently encapsulates the interplay between the internal and the external elements of conflict. The resolution of the UN General Assembly read, "Since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defense of peace must be constructed. That a peace based exclusively upon the political and economic arrangements of governments would not be a peace which could secure the unanimous, lasting, and sincere support of the peoples of the world, and that the peace must therefore be founded, if it is not to fail, upon the intellectual and moral solidarity of mankind." Indeed, external conflicts often find their genesis in internal conflicts of various hues. Now, lawyers perennially find themselves in situations of conflict and engage with conflict at every stage, from advising clients on the best way to resolve the conflict to representing them as they battle it out in the courtroom. Some lawyers would also tell their clients how to avoid conflict. As judges, we find ourselves at the other end of the table, grappling with various considerations as we attempt to resolve the conflict between the parties before us. Unlike the profession of yoga gurus, most people view our profession as one that deals purely with external conflict. However, this is not without our own internal churnings. Lawyers often find themselves soul-searching about the ethics of accepting a particular brief and adopting a certain line of argument. This ethical quandary revolves around the balance between their duty to uphold justice and the fundamental right of every individual to legal representation in a court of law. Similarly, oftentimes the call of duty of a judge lies in a call of our own conscience. Our minds are strictly not segregated compartments, and a significant portion of our moral grounding stems from the information and values absorbed throughout our lives as judges. We are often faced with situations that not only call for a value-neutral application of statutes, rules, and judgments, but also require us to look within and extend compassion to the parties before us. What, after all, is judging without compassion? Judging without compassion is really, for those of you who have ever ventured into it, the egg without the yolk. Courts are often faced with messy conflicts rooted in matrimonial discord, custody battles, or children in conflict with the law. These conflicts raise several emotional and ethical questions. They come to us every single day. You believe that when you go to the Supreme Court, you will have liberated yourself from the need to be dealing with matrimonial conflicts. And you only understand that matrimonial conflicts only increase when you go to the Supreme Court, and they become worse because parties are at the end of the battle. And they're not in a mood to resolve because they've come all the way fighting for their rights. These ethical and emotional issues result in a deep churning, where the internal conflicts faced by the parties manifest themselves as an external conflict. In many ways, to navigate such circumstances is the true test for a judge. How do you allow parties to come out with a solution which overcomes the internal conflict within, which leads to the manifestation of something which is external? External behavior, whether it's in terms of domestic violence or criminal behavior, is ultimately the product of an internal conflict. That is why much of our death penalty jurisprudence today in India is going beyond merely the crime into understanding the psychosomatic issues which confronted the criminal. What was the kind of family in which the criminal was born? What was the kind of early childhood experiences that the criminal had to undergo? And then we try and extrapolate using scientific techniques as to whether there is a likelihood of a recurrence of crime should this criminal be let loose in society. Is there a chance of rehabilitation? So essentially what we are trying to do, though we don't couch it in the language of yoga, is to try and figure out what were the internal conflicts in the mind of those who are in conflict of law, whether a child in conflict of law or a criminal in conflict of law. And in doing so, we are trying to assess the impact which that internal conflict has had on the physical characteristics of that individual, and whether by attending to those internal churnings, we can perhaps reform one individual. And that again is based on a fundamental tenet of our philosophy that no life, not even a single life, is too simple so as to be given up in the quest for legal penal regimes. No single individual is too small to be sacrificed. And therefore, in trying to bring people within the system, people who have in that sense been declared by the law to be beyond reparation or reform, our philosophies and our ancient learnings, including yoga, and what goes with it. Because yoga is not in that sense a standalone philosophy. It falls into place with a whole lifestyle based on good eating, on good thoughts, on good evolution, on good association with people you have to associate with. These are essentially things which fall into place in a holistic pattern of human beings' existences. Often when the court hears sensitive cases involving women, children, and families, judges make a concerted effort to ensure that the proceedings are not viewed as combative, but instead give the parties a chance to reflect on their internal conflicts and seek resolutions that prioritize their well-being, fostering an environment conducive to understanding, empathy, and reconciliation rather than exacerbating adversarial positions. In addition to the various conflicts that we encounter as a part of our profession, members of the legal fraternity, both lawyers and judges alike, also face a perpetual battle between devotion to their work and the ability to maintain what we colloquially call today a work-life balance. You have law firms in India where an appointment is given at 2 a.m., where the time which you spend away from your seat to go to something as elementary as a bathroom is mapped so that there are lasers which are triggered which would tell you how much time you spent in the bathroom away from your seat. So in this context of the profession as it is emerging, you speak about the need to maintain a work-life balance. This applies to not only judges and lawyers, but also the clerks and the administrative staff in our courtrooms, who work night and day to keep up with the hustle and bustle of our courts. In addressing this challenge, practices like yoga serve as a crucial means to center oneself and allocate time wisely. Notably, I must share with you that the Supreme Court has recently inaugurated a cutting-edge wellness center offering our staff of over 2,000 employees an avenue to prioritize their health and overall well-being. And I must take this opportunity to thank Kaivalyadhama because their team of yoga experts come every single day to the yoga center of the Supreme Court, and we have sessions running through the morning for every member of our staff who wants to attend to the wellness center. We are also on the anvil of opening a wellness center in collaboration with the Ministry of Ayush, where we are going to have a comprehensive wellness center not merely for the judges but for all the staff. If they want to do panchakarma, something, you have a lower body problem or you have a problem with cramps, you can attend to any issue that you want in the wellness center which we are about to inaugurate at the Supreme Court very shortly. I have personally experienced the transformative influence of yoga in my daily routine. I have made it an essential ritual to engage in yoga practice before embarking on the responsibilities that come with my role on the bench. It helps me absorb information faster and approach each case with a clearer and more focused mind, ensuring that I can uphold justice and make well-considered decisions in the courtroom. Because the essence of judging, or dare say the essence of the life of a doctor, is to stand apart from the conflict, to stand apart from the pain and suffering of those whom you have to deal with. Because if you internalize that conflict, then you become a part of that conflict. If you internalize the pain of your patients, then you become part of the pain. You have to be empathetic to the injustice which people before you have to suffer, just as you are empathetic as a doctor to the pain of your patients. But truly, the art of medicine or the art of lawyering lies in being a little disconnected. And yoga teaches us the art of being a little disconnected. Of course, on a lighter vein, my wife always tells me that you are disconnected when I talk to you. I'm not sure whether I can blame yoga for that or just plain the very engaging arguments which you have to deal with in court all day. So as they say, physician, heal thyself. And I would dare say, chartered accountant, heal thyself. Lawyer, heal thyself. And judge, heal thyself. Now, how do we heal ourselves? We have to heal ourselves if we have to come out of the vertex of conflict by submerging our own sense of identity, our own sense of ego, that I exist and I am capable of doing something. It is that process really of submerging your sense of identity. Conflict today is all about identity. Conflict between this region and that region, conflict between this country and that country, conflict between this gender and that gender, or no gender at all, conflict between the believers and those who don't believe. Conflict is all about identity, about people who assert that this is who I am, and someone who asserts that they are very different from whom I am are not worth my 2 cups of tea. So how do you ultimately submerge conflict? And I'm not sure that this is a solution which I have to offer, if it's a solution of universal application. But the true answer to conflict is to practice something, whether you call it yoga or you call it meditation, or just sitting still for the moment and being with yourself in the moment, is to enable you to submerge your sense of identity, to submerge in that sense your identity, because in doing so, you submerge the importance of ego, which our market-driven societies give you. Because all of our market-driven society is about telling you about how important you are, whether it is in selling you that beautiful perfume or that lovely men's fragrance, or that body deodorant, or these shoes which are made to fit the arch of your shoes, of your arch of your feet. And that's what we really have to combat today. In no uncertain terms, the interplay between the internal and external conflicts goes beyond its obvious manifestations and also lies at the core of our democracy. Let me now take it at a slightly broader perspective. The Supreme Court recently became home to a glorious statue of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the architect of our beloved Constitution. Throughout Dr. Ambedkar's work, he recognized the interplay between the internal or the personal with the external or the public. He was of the firm belief that India's independence struggle, a form of external conflict, could not be conducted in isolation from the internal conflict against its oppressive social order. He consistently held the view that democracy cannot be attained by mere political equality or liberty, but it is rooted in the socialization of the hearts and minds of the people living in the country. A nation, Dr. Ambedkar said, was not an abstraction external to its members. Rather, it was its members in their intricate relations and interdependence. To serve the nation was to promote the well-being, both internal and external, of its members. While describing his conception of democracy, Dr. Ambedkar famously wrote, "There must be social endosmosis. Democracy is not merely a form of government. It is primarily a mode of associated living, of conjoint communicated experience. It is essentially an attitude of respect and reverence towards fellow men. Indeed, no matter how many institutions exist, unless the essence of democracy and mutual respect towards one another is deeply ingrained within our internal selves, the machinery of democracy itself will struggle to function." In a nutshell then, the interplay between the internal and the external plays out in every aspect of our lives: family, profession, and the nation. It is our ability to harmonize the internal and the external dynamics that shape our interactions that define the essence of who we are as individuals, professionals, and citizens of a nation. I would like to take solace in and share with you all Lord Krishna's advice to Arjuna amid the deadly conflict in the Mahabharata. He said, "Arjuna, if you want to see the brave, look to those who can return love for hatred. If you want to see heroic, look to those who can forgive." I once again congratulate Kaivalyadhama on the inauguration of the state-of-the-art center. I extend my earnest wishes for the success of the symposium, and I now look forward to what is an integral part of yoga, which is having sattvic food after intellectual debate. Thank you. Namaste.